Heyo people, and welcome to this review of the fourth full-length album from the 1975 Notes on a Conditional Form. Whoo boy, full-length is definitely the way to describe this one, isn't it? So yeah, the 1975. I've been paying pretty close attention to these guys since their self-titled debut. They were just one of the most infectious sounding pop bands to come out of the last decade. And their debut, along with their follow-up, I Like It When You... had some of the funkiest, most jammable riffs pop rock could produce. This was a band with loads of promise, but around that second album or so, as if the title alone weren't already an indication, you could tell they were starting to run into problems. To put it succinctly, these guys just really started crawling up their own ass. They started to dabble with more experimental sound structures and were playing around with genres and soundscapes you wouldn't usually expect out of this flavor of pop rock. Not an ignoble goal by any means. Hell, that's what you want a band to do. You want them to expand and try new things. Honestly, I'm glad these guys were bold enough to take those steps and attempt to make themselves something more than just a dumb pop rock band. But the execution... people, I'm sorry. It's been hit and miss at best. Particularly on their last record, A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships, that album just, barely eked a spot on my worsties for 2018. And look, it sucked putting that album on there. It really did, but that album just was confused, it was horribly paced, meandering as all fuck, and at the end of the day, it was an absolute snooze fest of an album. It's hard to even remember what came off of that record. What were the singles off that record? There was, the one that kind of went, and there was the one with the pretentious name. That really narrows it down. And for a band as good as the 1975, a band so infectious as the 1975, to make something so dull and lifeless, that was a dire sign. Not to mention the fact that so many other bands out there were doing the thing I think they wanted to do a lot better than they were doing it. None of that helped either. I swear, y'all slept on Pale Waves, people. Just wait for that next album. And as the details came out surrounding this album, my outlook just kept getting bleaker and bleaker. I was dreading this thing. The last album was drawn out and dull enough, and now this one's gonna be a double album? And this one's gonna be even more subdued and experimental? God, guys, just chill. Don't jump. There are people who love you. And then came the delays. Delay after delay. Each time with new changes, new additions, new alterations, new stuff to give us even less confidence about this record. Remember all the cover changes? Remember what the cover to this album was gonna be? People, come on. I have been following this business long enough to know the signs of a train wreck when I see them approaching, and look, this one just did not look good. I'm just saying, we had every reason to be worried about this. Every single detail that came in about this record just seemed to make it out like it was gonna be the absolute pits, and the thing is, well, here's the thing. I'm conflicted. I really just do not know how to put this. This'll be a fun one. First things first, let's just get the easiest issue I have with this album out of the way. It's too freaking long. Simple as that. It's just, I know you saw it coming, but it's too freaking long. It's too freaking long. And oh my God, people. The wank long, slow strokes That should have been the name of this album, because there's so much wank. Man, I've always said that this band's biggest weakness is their inability to help themselves from adding wanky, meaningless tracks to their albums, and this is easily one of their wankiest to date. Hell, in interviews, Matt Healy is pretty much full-blown confirmed that, yeah, there's a lot of wank on this album. The third to last track, Bagsy Not in Net, was written specifically because, they'd promised 22 tracks, but they only had 21 when they were finishing, so interlude. And then there's the 6-minute instrumental, Having No Head. They claimed it's just George doing meditations. I mean, dude, I'm happy you're keeping your chakras aligned, but can you do that not on the album, please? Between instrumentals, interludes, and other tracks that don't say anything or accomplish much outside of wankery, this record has about 30 solid minutes on it that are just pure wank. 30 minutes of material that you could skip by and miss absolutely nothing. That's basically an entire other album's worth of material that is just wank. I've reviewed albums shorter than the amount of pure wank on this album. People, this band has a problem. People, I'm sorry, but there is just no good reason for this album to be as long as it is. It's bloated to the gills, and God, it sucks to say that, because now I have to completely turn the 180 on you here and say that for as much wank, as much concentrated wank as this thing has, God, there is a part of me that loves this record. Yeah, I bet you didn't see that coming. Yeah, no. This record has some really good stuff on it. Holy shit. Believe it or not, people, there is a lot about this album I truly, genuinely love. I would say by far this trounces A Brief Inquiry into Online Relationships. God, I hate how this band titles their albums. Yeah, despite my big, glaring issues with certain aspects of this record, I mean, God, the fact that it's padded like a 90s Nickelodeon game show really does it no favors, but the moments on it that do shine, man, do they shine! I can't even deny it. This is probably some of Matt Healy's most honest, vulnerable, and sincere lyrics to date. It's a very confessional record, and it works very well. Healy really bears his soul, particularly on tracks like Frail State of Mind, Nothing Revealed, Everything Denied, and the wonderful album closer, Guys. And God, that almost feels weird to compliment as well, because, I mean, the 1975, they never really were the most lyrical band out there. I'd say that was another one of their bigger shortcomings, but at the same time, you know, they were a pop group. And my mic is slipping again. Being shorthanded in that department, particularly in this genre, it almost comes with the territory. You almost come to expect it, you know? But Healy's honesty and sincerity about the issues going on in his life here, particularly those about being on tour, his struggles with addiction, his struggles to maintain his relationships with family, friends, and lovers alike. You know, it's not like they never touched on stuff like that on previous records, but the conviction is just so genuine on this record. It really comes across so well and so earnestly. Like, I don't know, Healy is a pretentious dude. He admits he's a pretentious dude. Like, he lives for that pretentious cred. But man, I don't know, I just can't help but feel him on certain tracks here. Man, this is the most feeling 1975 album they've ever done. Like, it has those moments where it just really grabs you. You don't see that coming. And that's not even mentioning the instrumentation. The instrumentation, when it is working, is absolutely fantastic. Hell, even some of the wankier tracks on the record, you know, they still at least sound really decent from a purely sonic perspective. The production on this record is absolutely glistening. And on those particular moments where they do try to pull off like a house music kind of vibe or British garage music sort of jam, even on those moments where they are just kind of dicking around, man, it still sounds decent. Even if it's not your thing, man, is it crystal clear and just absolutely polished to a high sheen. Even though the wankier tracks I just get not much out of, I can admit they still sound pretty. I mean, even its wankier moments, they can honestly just serve as nice little sections to just shut your brain off and relax to the groove. It's insubstantial as fuck in moments, but it's junk food. It really is junk food, and who hasn't, partaken in a little junk food here and there, you know what I mean? Lord knows I have. What's up? This record, it is an interesting case, people. After a brief inquiry into yada yada yada, I was convinced that this band was just not capable of expanding or growing. I figured they were a doofy pop act, and all this new stuff that they were trying was just them disappearing up into their own ass, that they were trying to develop into something that they would never become. I didn't think they honestly possessed the maturity or the depth to become that thing that they wanted to become, and that they were just kidding themselves. It's a big part of the reason why I was dreading this release, because I was afraid it was going to be an hour and 20 minutes of just rampaging self-denial. We can totally do this, we're going to do it, and you're going to sit through and listen to my big boy thoughts. But honestly, after hearing this album a few times, it's not perfect. It's very, very, very not perfect. But I honestly just have to admit, after listening to this record, I don't feel that way about them anymore. No joke, there are moments on this record where I was genuinely impressed. It sounds like they finally captured that fresh, new, and exciting sound. They finally did reach that place that they wanted to go and aim for. They finally did it. But fuck, is this album just too goddamn long? I'm sorry, it is! The bright spots on this album are very bright. Perhaps some of their brightest to date, dare I say it. But those bright spots have to fight for so much time because they're getting overshone by so much dull material. It gets smothered out by all the flabbiness of this record, man, and it's a shame. This band desperately needs to get in the studio with someone who can discipline them, someone who can bring out the best in their material, but smack their hands away from the desk when they reach too far out, when they get too ambitious, and it's like, no, that's a bad Healy. That is a bad Healy. We don't do that. But I want to do a 15-minute instrumental. No! I am convinced that this band really does have potential that I never saw in them before after listening to this record. They really genuinely do. They are just still criminally overindulgent. Some of the best material of their entire career is buried in this mess. Get someone in the studio that can direct their talent and focus it in a positive and productive direction, because if they don't, man, it's just gonna be all the more sad seeing what could have been. But man, it's in there. I promise you, the talent is genuinely in there, but holy fuck, do you have to cut through a lot of bullshit in order to see it. I have to take that in mind when making my final grade, but I will say that, yeah, in the right places this album surprised me. Surprised me more than any 1975 album has to this date. But it's still got its problems, people, just realist talk. Notes on a Conditional form gets 3 diamonds in the rough out of 5. 3 diamonds in a lot of rough. But what did you think? Are you as conflicted about this record as I am? Yeah, look, I'll just cop to the people. This record just... fuck, I still don't know how to feel about it. Feel free to let me know in the comments below. If you like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell while you're at it. I'm Crash Thompson, and I'll see you in the next video.
Super special thanks to Brandon Bamford.
costume.